I'm standing in that courtroom and my wife, the woman I would have died for, is looking at me with eyes colder than death itself. The judge just read the toxicology report out loud. Accidental overdose due to medication error. My hands are shaking. My lawyer's whispering something I can't hear because all I can see is my boy's empty bedroom, his wheelchair folded in the corner, his medicine bottles lined up on the nightstand like little soldiers that failed their mission. And in 24 hours, I'm going to lose everything I built in this life. My home, my business, my name. All because she says I killed our son. But I didn't know then what I know now. I didn't know the devil don't always show up with horns and a pitchfork. If you've ever trusted the wrong person with your whole heart, this one's going to hurt. But before we get into it, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. These stories matter, and knowing you're out there listening, it helps. My name is Andrew Mitchell. I'm 73 years old now. But this story takes me back to Atlanta, Georgia, 2007, back when I still had a son, back when I still believed in forever. Let me tell you how the wrong medicine killed more than just my boy. I remember the exact moment I saw Vanessa for the first time. It was spring of 1998 at a charity gala in Buckhead. I was 40 years old, built my construction company from the ground up, had more money than I knew what to do with, and a penthouse view that made other men jealous. But I was lonely in a way that money couldn't fix. She was across the room, laughing with some of the event coordinators, had on this emerald green dress that caught the light every time she moved. But it wasn't the dress that got me. It was the way she smiled at the elderly woman serving drinks, genuine and warm, like she actually saw people other folks walked right past. "Who is that?" I asked Marcus, my business partner. He grinned. "That's Vanessa Cooper. Works at the nonprofit that's getting our donation tonight. Good luck, man. She turns down everybody." I made my way over anyway. Introduced myself. She had these honey brown eyes that held yours when she talked, like you were the only person in the world worth listening to. "Andrew Mitchell," she said, shaking my hand. "I've heard about you, the man who built half of Atlanta." "Just the boring parts," I said. "The interesting parts were already here." She laughed. It sounded like music I didn't know I'd been missing. We talked for 2 hours straight. I learned she grew up in a small town outside Macon, worked 3 jobs to put herself through college, spent her weekends volunteering at homeless shelters. She had this light about her, this goodness that made you want to be better just by standing next to her. 6 months later, we were married at a small ceremony in Stone Mountain. My mama cried through the whole thing, said she finally got to see me happy before she passed. "Take care of my boy," Mama whispered to Vanessa at the reception. "He's got a good heart, but he works too hard. Make sure he remembers what matters." "I will, Mrs. Mitchell," Vanessa promised. "I will." For 3 years, we tried to have a baby. 3 years of doctor's appointments, disappointing tests, midnight conversations about maybe adoption, maybe accepting it wasn't meant to be. Vanessa would cry sometimes, quietly, when she thought I was asleep. I'd hold her and tell her we were enough, just the 2 of us. Then in 2004, the miracle happened. She was pregnant. I'll never forget the day she told me. I came home from a site inspection covered in concrete dust, exhausted. She was sitting at our kitchen table with this strange look on her face, somewhere between terrified and glowing. "Andrew, sit down." "Baby, I'm dirty. Let me shower first." "Sit down." I sat. She slid a pregnancy test across the marble countertop. 2 pink lines. I cried like a child, picked her up and spun her around our kitchen until she was laughing and telling me to put her down before I hurt the baby. "We're having a baby," I kept saying. "We're having a baby." God had finally answered our prayers, or so I thought. The pregnancy was hard. Vanessa was sick constantly, couldn't keep food down, missed work for weeks at a time, but we didn't care. We were bringing a life into this world. Our life, our second chance at family. I converted the spare bedroom into a nursery. Painted it sky blue myself, even though I could have paid someone. Built the crib with my own hands, every piece of wood sanded smooth, every joint reinforced. I wanted my son to know his daddy's work was in the very walls that kept him safe. "You're going to spoil this baby," Vanessa said, watching me from the doorway, her belly round and beautiful. "Damn right I am," I said. This baby's gonna have everything we didn't. But on December 3rd, 2004, when our son came into the world, the doctors gave us news that changed everything. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, Dr. Patterson said, his face grave. Your son has been born with severe cerebral palsy and a congenital heart condition. His mobility will be extremely limited, and he'll require significant medical intervention for the rest of his life. The words hit me like a truck. Vanessa went pale, gripping the hospital bed rails. But he's alive? I asked. That was all I needed to know. He's breathing? Yes, but then we'll figure out the rest. They brought him to us wrapped in a blue blanket. He was so small, so fragile, with tubes and wires connected to his tiny body. His eyes were closed, his chest rising and falling with mechanical precision. I looked at my son, and I saw a fighter. I saw someone who'd been dealt a hard hand but was here anyway, breathing, existing, deserving every bit of love this world had to offer. Hey there, Elijah, I whispered, using the name we'd chosen months ago. I'm your daddy, and I'm going to make sure you have the best life possible. I promise you that. When I looked up at Vanessa, I expected to see the same love, the same determination. Instead, I saw something that made my blood run cold. I saw disappointment. I saw fear. I saw a woman looking at her baby like he was a mistake. Vanessa? I said softly. She turned away, tears streaming down her face. But they weren't tears of joy. They were tears of something darker, something I didn't want to name. And that's when I should have known. That's when I should have seen what was coming. But I was too busy falling in love with my son to notice my wife was falling out of love with us both. Those first months home with Elijah were the hardest and most beautiful days of my life. Our house in Alpharetta became a mini hospital. We had nurses coming in shifts, physical therapists, occupational therapists, a cardiologist who visited twice a month. The nursery I'd built with such joy now looked like a medical facility with its monitors and equipment and oxygen tanks lined up against the wall. But Elijah, God, that boy had a spirit that couldn't be crushed. When he smiled, it was like the sun breaking through storm clouds. When he laughed, which was rare but precious, it made every sleepless night worth it. He needed 2 medications to stay alive. The first was digoxin, a heart medication that kept his irregular heartbeat stable. Bright blue label, had to be given at exactly 7 a.m. every morning, 0.5 milligrams. The second was carbamazepine, an anti-seizure medication because the cerebral palsy caused episodes. Red label, given at 7 p.m. every night, 100 milligrams. The nurse, Miss Gloria, a kind older woman from Mississippi, taught us the routine. Mr. Mitchell, this is life or death, she said, holding up both bottles. Blue bottle morning, red bottle night. Never mix them up. Never give more than prescribed. Elijah's little body can't handle mistakes. I understand, I said, taking notes like I was back in school. And Mrs. Mitchell? Gloria looked at Vanessa, who was standing by the window, arms crossed, staring out at nothing. I heard you, Vanessa said quietly. Gloria gave me a look that said more than words could. She'd been doing this long enough to recognize when a mother was struggling. After Gloria left, I tried to talk to Vanessa about it. Baby, I know this isn't what we planned. Isn't what we planned? She turned on me, eyes blazing. Andrew, this isn't just different from the plan. This is a lifetime sentence. Do you understand that? Every single day for the rest of our lives, we're going to be taking care of him. No college graduation to look forward to. No wedding, no grandkids. Just this. Just our son, I said firmly. Just the boy we prayed for. I prayed for a healthy baby, she snapped. Then her face crumpled. God, what kind of mother says that? What kind of monster am I? I pulled her into my arms. You're not a monster. You're overwhelmed. We both are. But we'll get through this together. She nodded against my chest, but I felt her body rigid, unyielding, like she was already somewhere else in her mind. Years passed. Elijah grew as much as his condition would allow. By age 7, he was trapped in a body that wouldn't cooperate with his bright, alert mind. He couldn't walk, couldn't feed himself, couldn't speak clearly. But his eyes, those eyes understood everything. I'd spend hours reading to him. Dr. Seuss at first, then Harry Potter as he got older. He'd make sounds, little hums of excitement when I did the voices. We'd watch Hawks games together, and I swear he understood basketball better than most adults. That's a foul, right, Eli? I'd say, and he'd blink twice, our code for yes. You're smarter than these refs, you know that? 2 blinks. Love you, son. 2 blinks. Always 2 blinks. But Vanessa, she disappeared into herself. She'd go through the motions, feeding Elijah his meals, helping with baths when I couldn't do it alone, sitting in on doctor appointments. But the light in her eyes had gone out. She started spending more time away from home. Book club on Tuesdays, yoga on Thursdays, brunch with friends on Saturdays. I didn't mind at first. She needed outlets. We all coped differently. What I didn't know was that she was building a different life in her mind. One where she wasn't Mrs. Mitchell, mother to a disabled child. One where she could walk into country clubs and charity galas without seeing pity in people's eyes. They look at me different now, she said one night after another gala she'd attended alone. Everyone knows about Elijah. They treat me like I'm brave, like I'm some kind of saint, but their eyes say, thank God it wasn't me. Who cares what they think, I said. I do, she shouted. I care, Andrew. I worked hard to get out of poverty, to build something, to matter in this world. And now I'm just that woman with the disabled son. That's my identity. That's all I am. You're Elijah's mother, I said. There's no greater identity than that. She looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. You don't get it. You never will. She wasn't wrong about that. I didn't get it. How could you look at a child, your own child, and see him as anything other than a blessing? Complicated, expensive, exhausting. Sure, but still a blessing. I should have paid more attention to how far apart we were drifting. I should have noticed how she stopped saying we and started saying I. I should have seen that she was spending more time on her phone, texting someone who made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in years. But I was too focused on Elijah, on keeping him alive, keeping him happy, making sure every day he knew he was loved beyond measure. The night it happened was October 23rd, 2011, a Saturday. I remember because that afternoon Elijah and I had watched a Braves playoff game, and even though they lost, we'd had a good time. He'd been more alert than usual, his eyes bright, making his excited sounds when I gave him bites of chocolate pudding. You're my best friend, you know that? I told him, wiping pudding from his chin. You and me, we're a team. Always gonna be. 2 blinks. Vanessa had gone to some spa in Dunwoody with her friend Nicole. Said she'd be back late, not to wait up. It's your night with Daddy, I told Elijah after we finished dinner. Let's get you ready for bed, my man. I wheeled him to his bedroom, helped him into his pajamas, the ones with little basketballs on them, changed his position in bed so he wouldn't get sores, turned on his favorite nightlight, the one that projected stars on the ceiling. Then I went to the medicine cabinet, blue bottle for morning, red bottle for night. Except when I opened the cabinet, something felt off. The bottles seemed like they were in different positions than usual. I brushed it off. Probably Gloria had reorganized when she was here that afternoon. I grabbed the red bottle. Carbamazepine, 7 p.m. medication. I'd done this routine 1,000 times, could do it in my sleep. Measured out the dose using the dropper. 100 milligrams, just like always. Open up, Eli. Medicine time. He opened his mouth obediently. I administered the medication, followed it with water through his feeding tube to make sure it went down smooth. Good boy. Now we're going to drift off to dreamland, and tomorrow's going to be a good day. Maybe we'll go sit outside, get some October sun on that handsome face. 2 blinks. Love you, son. 2 blinks. I kissed his forehead, turned on his monitor, and closed the door halfway, just like every other night. I didn't know I just killed my son. I didn't know that the red bottle I grabbed wasn't carbamazepine. I didn't know someone had switched the labels, and I definitely didn't know my wife was the one who'd done it. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. like always. Sundays were my favorite because there was no rush, no site visits, no conference calls with contractors. Just me and Elijah. Maybe we'd watch some cartoons while I gave him breakfast. Vanessa's side of the bed was cold. She'd come in late around 2 a.m., smelling like wine and expensive perfume. Didn't even kiss me goodnight, just slipped under the covers and turned away. I made coffee in the kitchen, scrambled some eggs. The morning light was coming through the windows, painting everything gold. October in Atlanta was perfect. Not too hot, not too cold. Good weather for taking Elijah out on the porch. At 7 a.m., I walked to his room to give him his morning medication and get him ready for the day. Morning, champ, I called out, pushing his door open. Time to wake up, and the words died in my throat. Elijah wasn't moving. His chest wasn't rising and falling like it should. The monitor was making a sound I'd never heard before, a long continuous beep that made my blood turn to ice. Elijah? Elijah! I rushed to his bed, grabbed his tiny hand. It was cold. Too cold. No, 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 no. I started CPR, pumping his chest like the nurses had taught us. Come on, baby, breathe. Breathe for Daddy. Please, God, please. Andrew? Vanessa appeared in the doorway, still in her nightgown. What's wrong? Why are you? Then she saw, oh my God, Andrew, what did you do? Call 911, I screamed, still pumping his chest. Call them now. Everything after that was a blur. Paramedics rushing in. Someone pulling me away from my son. The ambulance ride where I held his hand and begged him to come back. Vanessa in the corner, sobbing, repeating my baby, over and over. At Northside Hospital, a doctor I'd never seen before came out to the waiting room. His face told me everything before his mouth did. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, I'm so sorry. We did everything we could, but Elijah passed away. Time of death was approximately 11:47 p.m. last night. The world stopped spinning. What? I heard myself say. No, I just saw him. I just put him to bed. He was fine. He blinked at me. He was fine. We'll need to do an autopsy to determine the exact cause, but preliminary examination suggests cardiac arrest, possibly related to his existing condition. Vanessa collapsed into a chair, wailing. Her friend Nicole, who'd rushed to the hospital, was holding her, rocking her, whispering things I couldn't hear. I just stood there, numb, trying to understand how my son could be alive one moment and gone the next. 3 days later, Detective Martinez came to our house. Young guy, probably early 30s, with kind eyes that I could tell had seen too much sadness. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, I need to speak with you both about the autopsy results. We sat in the living room, the same living room where Elijah used to watch basketball with me. His wheelchair was still in the corner. I couldn't bring myself to move it. The medical examiner found high levels of digoxin in Elijah's system, Detective Martinez said, reading from a file. Fatal levels. The concentrations he received approximately 10 times his prescribed dose. My stomach dropped. What? No, I gave him his nighttime medicine, the red bottle, the carbamazepine. I've done it 1,000 times. Mr. Mitchell, the detective said gently, the lab analysis shows digoxin, not carbamazepine, his heart medication, the same medication that should only be given in the morning in very small doses. That's impossible. I grabbed the red bottle. The nighttime medication has a red label. We inspected the medicine cabinet, he continued. The bottle labeled for nighttime use contained digoxin. Someone had switched the labels on both bottles. The room started spinning. Switched the labels? Vanessa's voice was sharp, cutting. Andrew, did you make a mistake organizing them? Did you switch them? No, I would never. You're always so busy, always distracted with work. Oh God, Andrew, tell me you didn't kill our baby because you weren't paying attention. Mrs. Mitchell, please, Detective Martinez said. We don't know what happened yet. The label switching could have been accidental. Accidental? Vanessa stood up, pointing at me. He's the one who handled the medications. He's the one who gave them to Elijah every night. Gloria taught us both, but Andrew insisted on doing it himself. He wanted to be the hero, the devoted father. Vanessa, stop. My baby is dead because you gave him the wrong medicine. Her voice cracked, tears streaming down her face. You killed him, Andrew. You killed our son. Detective Martinez tried to calm the situation, but it was too late. The words were out there, hanging in the air like poison. Within a week, Vanessa had filed for divorce and a wrongful death lawsuit. She was taking me for everything, the house, the business, the savings, all of it. She's grieving, my lawyer Robert Chen told me. People do crazy things when they're grieving. But this didn't feel like grief. This felt calculated, precise. This felt like she'd been waiting for this moment, and I couldn't figure out why. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. I moved into a small apartment in Marietta, barely furnished, just a mattress on the floor and boxes I didn't have the energy to unpack. My construction company was bleeding money. I couldn't focus, couldn't make decisions, couldn't even show up to the office most days. Marcus tried to keep things together, but word had spread. Andrew Mitchell, the man who'd built half of Atlanta, had killed his own disabled son through negligence. Clients dropped us. Partners distanced themselves. My name became toxic. Vanessa played her part perfectly. She gave interviews to local news crying about her tragic loss and how she was seeking justice for Elijah. She hired the best lawyers in the state. Every court appearance, she'd show up looking devastated, leaning on Nicole for support, dabbing at her eyes with tissues. The media ate it up. Mother seeks justice after son's medication death. Father's fatal mistake destroys family. Wealthy contractor faces ruin after child's tragic overdose. Nobody wanted to hear my side, that I'd followed the routine exactly, that someone had switched those labels, that I loved my son more than my own life. By April 2012, I'd lost almost everything. The house was hers. The business was hemorrhaging. My reputation was destroyed. All I had left was a legal battle I was destined to lose, and a grief so heavy I could barely breathe through it. The final divorce and settlement hearing was scheduled for April 18th. Robert Chin prepared me for the worst. "She's going to get everything, Andrew. The judge has already indicated he's sympathetic to her case. You'll probably walk away with nothing." "I don't care about the money," I said. And I meant it. Money couldn't bring Elijah back. Money couldn't fill the hole in my chest where my son used to be. "I know, but you need to understand, this is going to be complete financial ruin." I understood. I just didn't care anymore. The day of the hearing, I sat across from Vanessa in a conference room at her lawyer's office. We were supposed to sign the final papers before going before the judge. She looked different, thinner, more polished. Diamond earrings I'd never seen before. Designer suit. Hair done like she was going to a fashion show instead of the destruction of our marriage. "Vanessa," I said softly. It was the first time we'd been alone in months. "Why are you doing this?" She didn't look at me. "You killed my son." "Our son, and I didn't." "Sign the papers, Andrew." Her lawyer, a shark named Harrison Blake, slid the documents across the table. Page after page of legal language that boiled down to, I was giving her everything and admitting fault for Elijah's death. "I can't sign this," I said. "I didn't kill him. Something's not right about this whole—" "Then we'll let the judge decide," Vanessa said coldly. "And trust me, he'll rule in my favor. You'll leave with nothing anyway, but at least this way, we don't waste another day in court." "Why do you hate me so much?" I asked. "We were happy once, remember? We were in love once." For just a second, something flickered in her eyes. Regret? Guilt? But it was gone as quickly as it appeared. "That was a different life," she said. "Sign the papers." I picked up the pen, hand shaking. This was it. The end of everything I'd built, everything I'd dreamed of. "I need to use the restroom first," Vanessa said suddenly, standing up. "Harrison, I'll be right back." She walked out, leaving her purse on the table. Her phone was sticking out of it. Harrison was on his phone, typing away, not paying attention to me. The office was quiet except for the ticking of an old clock on the wall. Then Vanessa's phone lit up with a notification. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But something in my gut told me to pay attention. The notification was from Nicole. I could see the message preview on the lock screen. "OMG, girl, you really did it. You're about to be rich and free. I'll have the champagne ready for tonight." He never suspected anything. My blood ran cold. I glanced at Harrison, still on his phone, oblivious. Without thinking, I reached over and tilted Vanessa's phone toward me so I could read more of the message thread that was partially visible. "Can't believe the plan actually worked. Switching those medicine bottles was genius. He's too dumb and grief-stricken to figure it out." The phone screen went dark. I sat back, heart pounding so hard I thought Harrison might hear it. Vanessa came back, grabbed her phone without looking at it, sat down. "Ready to sign?" she asked. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger, a monster in expensive clothes. "No," I said quietly. "I'm not ready. Andrew, I need time to think. We've been doing this for 6 months." "I said I need time." My voice was louder than I intended. Harrison looked up, startled. "Mr. Mitchell, the hearing is in 2 hours. Reschedule it. I need to talk to my lawyer about something first." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "About what?" "About making sure I understand what I'm signing." I could see the calculation in her face. Could I have seen the messages? Was I bluffing? "Fine," she said finally, "but you're just delaying the inevitable. I walked out of that office with my hands shaking and my mind racing. Nicole's message kept replaying in my head. Switching those medicine bottles was genius. Vanessa didn't accidentally grieve her way into a lawsuit. She planned this. She murdered our son, and she almost got away with it. I didn't go home after leaving that office. I drove straight to a strip mall in Decatur, to a place I'd found on Google the night before when I couldn't sleep. Raymond Walker, Private Investigations. The office was above a dry cleaner, accessed through a narrow staircase that creaked with every step. Raymond was a big man in his 60s, former Atlanta PD, with hands like catcher's mitts and eyes that had seen every kind of human ugliness. "Let me guess," he said after I introduced myself. "Wife's cheating and you want proof for the divorce." "No," I said. "Worse, I think my wife murdered our son and framed me for it." Raymond stopped mid-sip of his coffee. "You're that Andrew Mitchell, the medication case." "Yeah, tell me everything." I did. The switched labels, Vanessa's behavior before and after Elijah's death, the text messages I'd seen on her phone, all of it came pouring out like a confession. Raymond listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "The text messages," he said finally. "Did you take pictures?" "No, I didn't have time, and I didn't think. Then they're hearsay. Defense attorney would tear that apart in court." "So I have nothing?" "I didn't say that." Raymond leaned back in his chair, making it groan. "I said the texts are hearsay, but if your wife really did plan this, there'll be other evidence. People who plan crimes are usually meticulous in some areas and sloppy in others. They can't help it. Human nature." "So, you'll help me?" "I'll investigate. But I need you to understand something, Mr. Mitchell. What you're asking me to look into, if you're right, we're talking about premeditated murder of a child. That's the kind of evil most people don't want to believe exists. The kind of evil that, even with proof, juries struggle to accept because it breaks something fundamental in how we understand mothers. I know. If I find evidence, it's going to destroy lives. Your wife's, her friends. Maybe more people are involved. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Elijah, about his two-blink yes, his excited sounds during basketball games, the way he'd grip my finger with his small hand during physical therapy. "My son deserves justice," I said. "Whatever it takes." Raymond nodded. "Then let's get to work." He started with the house. Vanessa was still living there, but Raymond had ways of getting information. He interviewed neighbors, talked to Gloria, our former nurse, spoke with delivery people who'd been to the house regularly. "Your wife had a lot of visits from this Nicole person in the months before Elijah's death," Raymond told me a week later. "Multiple times per week, always when you were at work. They'd sit in the kitchen for hours." "Planning," I said. "Maybe. Or maybe just two friends spending time together. We need more." He pulled Vanessa's financial records, legal since we were still technically married and in divorce proceedings. There were charges to a pay-as-you-go phone I'd never seen, purchases at stores for rubber gloves, cleaning supplies, things that seemed normal enough on their own but together painted a darker picture. "She bought gloves the week before your son's death," Raymond said. "Latex gloves, the kind you'd wear if you didn't want fingerprints on something, like medicine bottles." The pieces were coming together, but Raymond kept saying we needed something definitive, something that couldn't be explained away. Then he found it. "Your wife made a mistake," Raymond said 3 weeks into the investigation. "He was in my apartment, spreading documents across my kitchen table. A camera mistake." "What do you mean?" "You have security cameras at the house, right? Front door, back door, driveway." "Yeah, but the police already looked at all that footage. Nothing unusual the day Elijah died." "The police looked at the footage from that day, but they didn't look at the footage from 3 days before, October 20th. The day you were at that construction site in Columbus, remember? Overnight trip. Vanessa was home alone with Elijah and the nurse." I remembered. It had been a major project, needed my physical presence. I'd called home 3 times that day to check on Elijah. "What's on the footage?" Raymond pulled out his laptop, opened a video file. "Watch." The timestamp showed October 20th, 2:37 p.m. I watched as Nicole's car pulled into our driveway. She got out carrying a paper bag. Vanessa met her at the door. They went inside. Raymond fast-forwarded to 5:43 p.m. Gloria, the nurse, left for the day, waving goodbye at the door. Then he showed me something at 6:15 p.m. Vanessa and Nicole in the upstairs hallway, visible through the window of Elijah's room because the curtains weren't fully closed. The angle was awkward, but you could see them standing by the medicine cabinet. Raymond zoomed in as much as the quality would allow. Vanessa was holding up 2 bottles. Nicole was holding up her phone, looking at something on the screen. They were comparing labels, writing something down. "They're studying the bottles," I whispered, "learning which is which before switching them. Keep watching." Nicole took a bottle from Vanessa. Then, clear as day, she peeled something off it, the label. She handed it to Vanessa, who did the same with the other bottle. Then they switched them. Red label went on the blue bottle. Blue label went on the red bottle. The whole thing took less than 3 minutes. She used her friend to help her, I said, feeling sick. So if there were fingerprints, they'd be both of theirs. Harder to prove who actually did what. "Smart," Raymond said. "Sick and evil, but smart." We kept watching. At 7:02 p.m. my call came through. You could see Vanessa answer her phone, smile, mouth, "Hey, honey," while she and Nicole were still in Elijah's room with the switched bottles. I remembered that call. "Hey, honey, how's my boy?" I'd asked. "He's perfect," she'd said. "Missing his daddy, but perfect." She'd lied to me while standing over the bottles that would kill our son 3 days later. "We've got her," Raymond said. "This footage proves premeditation, conspiracy, first-degree murder." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The woman I'd loved, the woman I'd built a life with, had murdered our child, our disabled, defenseless child, for money. "Mr. Mitchell," Raymond said gently, "Andrew, we need to take this to the police today." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "Why?" I finally asked. "Why would she do this to him, to us?" Raymond looked at me with something like pity. "In my experience, people who do things like this, they're not like us. They don't think like us. They see life as a game where they're the only real player. Everyone else is just props, even their own kids, especially their own kids." Detective Martinez looked older than when I'd seen him last. The case had clearly taken a toll on him, too. We met at the police station on April 26, 2012. Raymond Walker, my lawyer Robert Chin, and me on one side of the table. Martinez and his partner, Detective Sarah Owens, on the other. "Show us what you have," Martinez said. Raymond played the video, all of it, the arrival, the label switching, my phone call where Vanessa lied with a smile. The room was silent except for the video audio. When it was over, Martinez rubbed his face with both hands. "Jesus Christ." "That's premeditated murder," Detective Owens said. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. "And conspiracy. We need to bring in both women immediately." "There's more," Raymond said, pulling out phone records. Vanessa and Nicole exchanged 43 calls in the month before Elijah's death. After he died, the calls dropped to almost nothing. But there's a pattern of calls to a divorce attorney starting 2 weeks before the murder. "She was planning the divorce before the child died," Martinez said. "This wasn't a crime of opportunity or grief. This was calculated from the start." Robert Chin spoke up. "My client was wrongfully accused, wrongfully sued. His name was destroyed based on a crime his wife committed. We'll be seeking full exoneration and damages." "One thing at a time," Martinez said. "First, we arrest the women. Andrew, I need you to understand. This is going to be a media nightmare. The same press that crucified you is going to lose their minds when they find out the truth." "I don't care about the media," I said. "I care about justice for my son." "You'll get it," Martinez promised. "Both women will be charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy. If convicted, they're looking at life without parole. Life without parole. It should have felt like enough. It didn't. Nothing would bring Elijah back. They arrested Vanessa at the house 2 days later. I wasn't there, but the news footage showed everything. Squad cars pulling up to her house. Vanessa in handcuffs, screaming, being let out in workout clothes while neighbors watched from their yards. Nicole was arrested at her home in Sandy Springs an hour later. Both women were denied bail, deemed flight risks. The media response was exactly what Martinez predicted. Absolute chaos. Mother charged with murdering disabled son for inheritance. Video evidence shows wife switching fatal medication labels. Husband exonerated after months of public condemnation. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. News producers, reporters, people from my past offering sympathy or apologies or just wanting to be part of the story. Marcus called me crying. "Brother, I never doubted you. You know that, right? I never believed you could hurt that boy." "I know," I said, though part of me wondered if that was completely true. The human mind is funny. When everyone says someone's guilty, even your closest friends start having doubts. The preliminary hearing was set for May 15th. But before that, Martinez called me with news. Vanessa wants to make a deal. What kind of deal? She's willing to plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter instead of murder one. She'll testify against Nicole, claim Nicole was the mastermind and she was coerced. In exchange, she'd get 15 to 20 years instead of life. "No," I said immediately. "Absolutely not." "Andrew, she killed my son, our son. She planned it, executed it, and then destroyed my life to cover it up. She doesn't get a deal. She doesn't get mercy. Elijah didn't get mercy from her." "I understand. But you should know, her lawyer's going to argue postpartum depression, overwhelming caregiver stress, diminished capacity. They'll paint her as a victim of circumstances. She switched medicine bottles with her friend 3 days before she had me kill our son." I was shouting now. "That's not diminished capacity. That's cold-blooded murder." "I agree. I'm just preparing you for what's coming." What came was worse than I imagined. The trial started in September 2012, nearly a year after Elijah's death. The courthouse in downtown Atlanta was packed every day. News trucks lined the streets. People held signs outside, some saying "Justice for Elijah," others saying "Death penalty for baby killers." I had to testify, had to sit in that witness box and tell the jury everything. The pregnancy struggles, Elijah's birth, his condition, the medicine routine. The night I gave him what I thought was his regular medication. Vanessa's lawyer, a woman named Patricia Morris, tried to make me look negligent. "Mr. Mitchell, you were the primary person responsible for administering medication to Elijah, correct?" "Yes." "And you were often tired, stressed from work?" "I was a father taking care of my son. Of course I was tired sometimes." "Tired enough to make mistakes?" "I didn't make a mistake. Your client switched the labels. Or did you switch them yourself and not remember? The human brain under stress does strange things." Objection. The prosecutor, a sharp man named Michael Torres, was on his feet. "Counsel is testifying." Sustained. But the damage was done. They were trying to create doubt, make the jury wonder if maybe I'd done it accidentally and Vanessa's was just a grieving mother seeking justice. Then they showed the video. The courtroom was dead silent as Raymond's security footage played on screens for the jury. You could see everything. Vanessa and Nicole with the bottles, the label switching, the deliberate, careful movements. One of the jurors, a woman about Vanessa's age, was crying. When it finished, I watched Vanessa's face. She was staring at the table, no emotion visible, like she was watching footage of someone else's life. Nicole testified first, trying to save herself. She claimed Vanessa had manipulated her, told her they were just organizing the medicine cabinet, that she didn't know what Vanessa was planning. "Did Mrs. Mitchell tell you she wanted her son dead?" Torres asked. "Not in those exact words," Nicole said carefully. "But she talked about how her life would be better without the burden, how she deserved freedom, how Andrew had all this money and she'd sacrificed everything. And yet, you helped her switch labels on medication bottles for a severely disabled child? I thought we were just, I don't know what I thought. I was stupid. I'm so sorry." Sorry, the word felt obscene. Then Vanessa took the stand. She'd lost weight since the arrest, looked fragile in a way that was clearly calculated. Conservative blue dress, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. Patricia Morris led her through a story of overwhelming depression, isolation, judgment from society, a marriage that had become a prison. "I loved my son," Vanessa said, tears flowing. "I did, but I was drowning, every single day drowning. And Andrew didn't understand. He was fine because Elijah gave him purpose. But for me, I lost myself." "Did you switch the medication labels with intent to kill your son?" Morris asked. Here it comes, I thought, the lie. Vanessa looked at the jury. "I don't remember doing it. I was in such a dark place mentally. I know the video shows it, but I have no memory of that day. I think my mind couldn't handle what I was doing, so it blocked it out." "Do you take responsibility for your son's death?" "Yes," she whispered. Yes, I take responsibility. But I never wanted him to die. I just wanted out. I wanted my life back. It was a masterful performance. Several jurors looked sympathetic. Torres destroyed her on cross-examination. Mrs. Mitchell, you don't remember switching the labels, but you do remember calling a divorce attorney 2 weeks before your son died? I was exploring options. You remember texting Nicole about the plan, but not what the plan was? I don't know what you're talking about. Let me refresh your memory. He pulled up phone records, text messages they'd recovered. Once this is over, I'll finally be free and rich. You sent that to Nicole 4 days before your son died. What did this refer to? Vanessa couldn't answer. You filed for divorce within a week of your son's death. You claimed Andrew had killed Elijah through negligence before the autopsy results were even complete. You hired lawyers, gave media interviews, destroyed your husband's reputation, all while knowing you were the one who'd set up your son's death. Does that sound like someone with no memory of their actions? I was grieving. You were calculating. You murdered your disabled son because you saw him as an inconvenience and your husband's money as an opportunity. That's the truth, isn't it? No. But the jury saw through it. I could see it in their faces. The verdict came back after 3 days of deliberation. We, the jury, find the defendant, Vanessa Cooper Mitchell, guilty of murder in the first degree. We, the jury, find the defendant, Nicole Patricia Barnes, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and accessory to murder. Vanessa screamed, actually screamed like a wounded animal. Her mother, sitting in the gallery, collapsed. Nicole just stared straight ahead in shock. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. I walked out of that courthouse with Robert Chin and Marcus on either side of me. The crowd outside was chanting, "Justice for Elijah! Justice for Elijah!" Someone shoved a microphone in my face. "Mr. Mitchell, how do you feel?" How did I feel? Empty, vindicated, broken, angry, sad beyond words. "I feel like my son finally has justice," I said. But justice doesn't bring him back. Nothing brings him back. 2 weeks later, we were back in court for sentencing. This was when victims get to speak, when the family of the person killed gets to tell the judge and the defendant what the crime has cost them. I'd written a statement, stayed up for 3 nights working on it, trying to find words that could contain the magnitude of what Vanessa had taken from me, from Elijah. The courtroom was full again. Media, spectators. Vanessa's family on one side, my few remaining friends on the other. Vanessa and Nicole were brought in wearing orange jumpsuits, hands cuffed. They looked so different from the women who used to sit at my kitchen table laughing about book club and yoga classes. Prison had stripped away the polish, revealed what was underneath. 2 people who'd made unforgivable choices. Judge Patricia Hernandez, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and a reputation for harsh sentences, called the court to order. Before I impose sentence, I'd like to hear from the victim's family. "Mr. Mitchell, would you like to address the court?" I stood up, legs shaking, walked to the podium, pulled out my statement with hands that trembled. "Your Honor, I don't have fancy words or legal training. I'm just a father who lost his son, so I'm going to speak from the heart." I looked at Vanessa. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Elijah Marcus Mitchell was born on December 3rd, 2004. He came into this world with challenges that most people couldn't imagine. He couldn't walk, couldn't talk clearly, couldn't feed himself. His body was a prison, and he served a life sentence from day one through no fault of his own. My voice cracked. I took a breath. But he had a spirit that wouldn't quit. He'd laugh at basketball games. He'd get excited about chocolate pudding. He'd blink twice to tell me he loved me. That was our code. 2 blinks meant "I love you," and he never failed to give me those 2 blinks, even on his hardest days. I saw one of the jurors wiping tears. "Vanessa, you gave birth to him. You carried him for 9 months. You felt him move inside you. How do you look at a child you created and decide he's not worth keeping alive? How do you choose money and freedom over your own son's heartbeat?" Now I did look at her, forced her to look at me. "You didn't just kill Elijah. You tortured him. 3 days, Vanessa. He lived for 3 days after you switched those labels, having no idea his own mother had set up his murder. 3 days where I held him, read to him, promised him tomorrow would be a good day. And you sat there knowing tomorrow would never come for him." Vanessa was crying now, late, but I felt no sympathy. Then you tried to destroy me, sued me, took everything, told the world I was a murderer. I lost my business, my home, my reputation, my peace. I had people spit at me in grocery stores. Former friends crossed the street to avoid me, all because you needed a scapegoat for your own evil. I turned to the judge. Your Honor, Vanessa doesn't deserve mercy. She didn't show mercy to a 7-year-old boy who never hurt anyone. She doesn't deserve second chances. Elijah doesn't get a second chance. Nicole doesn't deserve leniency either. She was an active participant in planning my son's murder. I folded my statement. I'm not asking for vengeance. I'm asking for justice. Real justice. The kind that says you cannot murder children for convenience and money. The kind that says disabled lives matter just as much as any other life. The kind that says Elijah Marcus Mitchell deserved to live, and these two women don't get to walk free after taking that from him. I sat down, exhausted. The judge took a long moment, looking at her notes, then at Vanessa and Nicole. I've been on the bench for 23 years, Judge Hernandez said. I've seen murders motivated by rage, by drugs, by mental illness, by desperate circumstances. What I've seen here is something far colder. This was murder motivated by selfishness, by greed, by a complete absence of maternal instinct or human compassion. She looked at Vanessa. Mrs. Mitchell, you portrayed yourself during trial as a victim, overwhelmed, depressed, not in control of your actions. But the evidence shows careful planning, clear intent, and calculated execution. You researched divorce attorneys before your son's death. You enlisted a friend to help commit the crime. You framed your husband and pursued him legally and financially, even after achieving your goal of freedom. Vanessa was sobbing, her shoulders shaking. You have shown no genuine remorse. Your tears today are for yourself, not for the child you murdered. I see no possibility of rehabilitation. I see only a dangerous person who valued money and social status over a child's life. Judge Hernandez picked up her gavel. Vanessa Cooper Mitchell, I hereby sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your natural life behind bars, thinking about the son who deserved better than you. The gavel came down. Bang! Vanessa screamed again, louder this time. Guards moved to restrain her as she thrashed. No, please! I'm sorry, Andrew! Tell them I'm sorry! I looked at her with nothing, just emptiness. The judge turned to Nicole. Miss Barnes, you were not the primary actor, but you were an essential participant. Without you, this crime might not have occurred. You helped switch labels on medication bottles, knowing a child's life hung in the balance. Even if you didn't fully understand what you were doing, which I don't believe, you bear responsibility for being willfully ignorant while assisting in a murder. Nicole was crying silently, resigned to her fate. I sentence you to 30 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 20. You'll be in your 50s before you even have a chance at freedom. Use that time to reflect on the value of the life you helped take. Bang! It was over. Both women were led out, still in cuffs. Vanessa was still screaming. Nicole just walked, head down, defeated. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded me again. Mr. Mitchell, are you satisfied with the sentences? Do you forgive your ex-wife? What's next for you? I stopped, turned to face the cameras. I'm satisfied that justice was served. I'll never forgive what she did, to Elijah or to me. What's next is I try to figure out how to live with this hole in my chest where my son used to be. That's all I've got to say. I thought that was the end of it. Life sentence handed down, case closed, time to try to rebuild some semblance of a life. But 2 weeks after sentencing, I got a letter at my apartment. Return address, Georgia Diagnostic and Classification Prison, Jackson, Georgia, where Vanessa was being held. I almost threw it away. What could she possibly have to say that I wanted to hear? But something made me open it. Maybe I needed to understand. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I was just a fool who still couldn't believe the woman I'd loved was capable of such evil. The letter was 4 pages long, handwritten in her neat script. Andrew, I know you probably hate me. You should. I hate myself. But I need you to understand why I did what I did, even if you never forgive me. Maybe especially if you never forgive me. When Elijah was born disabled, something broke inside me. I know that sounds like an excuse, but it's the truth. I looked at him, this tiny person who was supposed to be our joy, and all I could see was the death of everything I'd worked for. I grew up poor, Andrew. Really poor. The kind of poor where you wear the same shoes until they have holes, where you eat cereal for dinner because that's all there is. I clawed my way out of that. I studied, worked 3 jobs, did everything right. Then I met you, this successful, generous man who could give me the life I'd always dreamed of. When Elijah was born the way he was, I felt like God was punishing me, like he was saying, "You don't deserve the good life." Every time I looked at my son, I didn't see a child. I saw a life sentence. I saw myself trapped forever, defined by disability, pitied by everyone, never able to be who I wanted to be. I know that makes me a monster. I know normal mothers don't think that way, but I couldn't help it. The resentment grew every day like a cancer. You were fine. You found purpose in caring for him, but I just felt dead inside. Nicole and I started talking about what if. What if Elijah wasn't in the picture? What if something happened to him naturally? Heart failure, seizure, something related to his condition. Would that be so bad? Would anyone really blame me for feeling relief? The idea grew slowly. Nicole kept saying how I deserved better, how I'd sacrificed enough, how it wasn't fair that my life was over at 35. She showed me articles about mercy killings, about parents who'd ended their disabled children's suffering. She kept framing it like I'd be doing Elijah a favor, ending his pain, giving him peace. But that was a lie we told ourselves. The truth is, I wanted him dead because he was inconvenient, because he stood between me and the life I felt I deserved, because I'd rather be a rich widow than a burdened mother. Switching the labels was Nicole's idea, but I jumped on it. It was perfect. Blame you, the devoted father who handled the medications. No one would suspect the grieving mother. I'd get sympathy, the house, the money, freedom, everything. I watched you give Elijah that medicine, Andrew. I sat in our bedroom and listened to you putting him to bed, giving him the wrong medication that I knew would kill him. And I didn't stop you. I let you become the weapon that killed our son. Then I waited. I knew it would take a few hours. I'd researched exactly how long a digoxin overdose would take to cause cardiac arrest in a child his size. I went to bed that night knowing my baby was dying in the next room, and I fell asleep. When you found him in the morning, your screaming woke me up. I saw you doing CPR, begging him to breathe, and I felt nothing. Just relief that it was finally over. Then I remembered my role, devastated mother. That part was easy. Destroying you was easy too. You made it easy by being so obviously destroyed yourself. You looked guilty even though you weren't. The lawyers, the media, everyone wanted a villain, and you were right there. I thought I'd won. I really did. Even after I got everything in the divorce settlement, even after you were ruined, I felt no guilt, just satisfaction. Then they arrested me, showed me that security footage I'd forgotten existed, and I realized I'd been an idiot. Nicole had been an idiot. We'd planned everything except checking every camera angle. Now I'm in prison for the rest of my life. I'll die in here, an old woman who killed her own son for money. That's my legacy. That's all I'll ever be. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm writing this because you deserve to know the truth, all of it, not the story my lawyers told in court, the real truth. I killed Elijah because I'm selfish, because I valued my comfort over his life, because I'm a monster who should never have been a mother. And the worst part? Even now, even rotting in prison, part of me still wishes I'd gotten away with it. Part of me still thinks Elijah's death would have been worth it if I'd gotten my freedom. I'm broken, Andrew. I've always been broken. You just didn't see it because you're a good man who sees the best in people. Elijah deserved better than me. You deserve better than me. I'm sorry for what I took from you both. I'm sorry for the rest of my life. Vanessa, I read that letter 3 times. Then I burned it in my kitchen sink. She wanted understanding, absolution, some kind of closure where I acknowledged her humanity even in her monstrosity. She didn't get it, because the truth in that letter, the confession that even in prison, part of her didn't regret what she'd done, that truth told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't sorry Elijah died. She was sorry she got caught, and that meant she deserved every single day of that life sentence. It's been 13 years since Elijah died. I'm 73 now, living in a modest house in Douglasville, Georgia. Not the mansion in Alpharetta, not the penthouse life. Just a quiet place with a small yard and a porch where I can sit and watch the sun go down. I never rebuilt my construction business. Couldn't do it. Too many memories, too much baggage. I work part-time at a hardware store now, helping folks fix things. It's honest work. It's enough. Marcus still calls me every Sunday. We talk about basketball, about his grandkids, about life. He never asks about Elijah unless I bring it up first. That's real friendship, knowing when to speak and when to just be present. I visit Elijah's grave every month. It's at Westview Cemetery, under a big oak tree. The headstone says, Elijah Marcus Mitchell, December 3rd, 2004, October 23rd, 2011. Loved beyond measure, forever 7, forever ours. I bring basketballs sometimes, little foam ones, and leave them at his grave. Other times I just sit there and talk to him like I used to. Tell him about the Hawks game, about the birds I saw, about how much I miss his 2 blinks. People ask me if I've found peace. The answer's complicated. I've found acceptance. I accept that evil exists in forms we don't want to acknowledge. I accept that people we love can be capable of unimaginable darkness. I accept that justice exists but doesn't heal all wounds. I've found purpose. I volunteer now at a disability advocacy nonprofit, helping families navigate the challenges I once knew so well. I tell them about Elijah, about how every day with him was precious, even with the hardship. I tell them their kids matter, their kids have value, their kids deserve the world. I found forgiveness, not for Vanessa, never for Vanessa, but for myself. I forgave myself for not seeing what she was planning, for trusting her, for being the hand that delivered the poison she'd prepared. It wasn't my fault. I know that now. It took years of therapy, years of walking through the darkness, but I finally believe it. I didn't kill my son. I loved him, and that love is what I choose to remember. Last year, I got word that Vanessa tried to appeal her sentence, claimed new evidence, claimed ineffective counsel, claimed cruel and unusual punishment. The appeals court shut her down in about 5 minutes. Nicole comes up for parole in 7 years. She'll be 53. Maybe she'll get out, maybe she won't. Either way, she'll never escape what she helped do. That's a different kind of prison, one you carry in your mind forever. I don't hate them anymore. Hate takes energy I don't have. I just feel nothing when I think about them. They're footnotes in Elijah's story now, not the main characters. He's the main character. His life, short as it was, matters more than their crimes. Some nights I dream about him. He's not in his wheelchair in these dreams. He's running, laughing, playing basketball like he would have if the world had been kinder. In my dreams, he's whole. He's free. I wake up and there's a moment, just a moment, where I forget he's gone, where I think I should go check on him, give him his medicine, read him a story. Then reality crashes back. The empty house, the silent rooms, the memories that are all I have left. But you know what? I'm grateful for those memories because they're proof that Elijah was here, that he mattered, that for 7 years I got to be his daddy and he got to be my son. Nothing, not Vanessa's betrayal, not the trial, not the years of suffering can take that away. If you made it this far in my story, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing Elijah's life through my words. I don't know where you are in the world, but wherever you are, I hope you'll remember something. Life is fragile. Love is precious, and the people we trust with our hearts have the power to save us or destroy us. Choose carefully who you trust. Choose fiercely who you love. And if you're blessed with children, no matter what condition they come in, love them with everything you've got. Because I promise you, there's nothing in this world worth more than that. I thought I had time with Elijah. Turns out, time had me. But the time we did have, that was pure gold. And I wouldn't trade a single 2 blink I love you for anything in this world. That's the day I realized peace don't come cheap. You got to walk through hell to find it. You got to lose everything to understand what matters. And what matters is love. Always was, always will be. My name is Andrew Mitchell. I'm 73 years old. I lost my son to evil, but I found myself in the grief. I lost my fortune, but I gained wisdom. I lost my wife, but I kept my soul. And if I could go back and change anything at all, I wouldn't change having Elijah, not for a second, because he taught me what it means to be human, what it means to love purely, without conditions, without resentment, without counting the cost. He was my son, my teacher, my heart, And until the day I die, he'll be my greatest blessing. Rest in peace, Elijah Marcus Mitchell. Daddy loves you. Two blinks, always two blinks. If this story touched you, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me about the people you love. Tell me about the second chances you've been given or the justice you've sought. These stories only matter if they connect us, if they remind us we're all walking similar paths, fighting similar battles, looking for similar light in the darkness. Life's short, love hard, and never take a single day for granted. Peace.